Hey, how's it going, guys? Jackson here with Toasty DIY, and today we're going to be doing a quick little video on replacing a 2023 Ducati Monster 937 Plus, and this is the F3 from ASV, and this is, as you can see, for a Ducati. So I believe I got pretty much a direct fit, but it is clearly different than the original clutch, and there's definitely a couple of differences in terms of the build and everything, but I'm hoping that I got one that's a similar length to the OEM standard. As you can see, mine has broke, and that's a long story. I only have 8 miles on this Ducati, and long story short, kickstand did not go all the way down. I made the mistake of not noticing, and yeah, the bike fell over. So I was pretty embarrassed in that, but I will say it was very nice. The clutch is really the only thing that took damage, and it just basically just kind of broke off. It looks like it's almost like a cast aluminum or something along those lines. So it broke off. I was able to make it home since it broke off right here. I don't know if that's part of the design. I know some clutches, they make them a little bit thinner so that they do break and you can still get home. You don't have to get towed. But it was definitely a little harder because I'm usually I think I'm more of like a 3 or 4 finger on the clutch kind of guy. I'm not really, I know a lot of people like the short clutches, which this company does sell, by the way. But yeah, so let's go ahead and just get this thing open. This is a clutch that does have the adjustable Brembo style like fine tuner on it, and this new one has more of like a wheel on it. So both should be adjustable just fine. And I really do love the packaging in this, by the way. They did a great job, and it was a pretty expensive clutch lever, I will say that. I never realized how much these things were, because once I dropped the bike, I'm like, all right, this can't be too bad, right? No, as soon as I saw the price of how much they are, and also just the lack thereof OEM clutches. I actually ordered one from like Germany, but it's not gonna be here for, God, I want to say like a month or two, and I don't even think it's an actual OEM Brembo one. So I was like, you know what? I'm like, if I'm gonna get like an aftermarket one that's not OEM, I might as well get like a nice one. So let's go ahead and just kind of go over the, I guess you could say, key differences. So in terms of the overall, I guess you could say like length and like the bend looks very similar. It's a little bit more harsh on the ASV, which I don't really see a problem with. And then in terms of length, I wish I knew where the other piece went. I did have the piece that broke off, but now I can't find it. So we're gonna have to just be approximate. So we'll put this kind of where the bend is. And I think it only broke off about the tip. So I think this is actually about the exact same length. I'm liking this. This piece looks a little bit bigger. I like how it's rounded. I think this is designed to break before the rest of the clutches. Oh, and also this one's a lot more bendy. The other clutch, I want to say, yeah, it only bent forwards about that much. So that's probably another reason why it broke so freaking easily. And then you do have these 2 inserts, so make sure you don't lose these. These are probably just so they can fit a couple of different bikes, push the actual cylinder. So this is more than likely going to go inside of where that was, and then we're going to be pushing from right here at this point. So it's definitely a good amount different. I wonder if I'm supposed to, I don't even know if I'm supposed to reuse this, because it did have a really nice plunger cover too, which I kind of really liked. So it's kind of a little bit of a bummer that you know, we don't have like that nice piece anymore, but I'm gonna see if I can get this off. All right, so one of the things I just did was the stock clutch had this little rubber boot basically down here a little bit past this piece. It does come off. You just have to kind of get your nail into there, use a small screwdriver, just really carefully get that boot off. I am gonna try to kind of at least have it on this piece, because after test fitting it, it's definitely a good quality clutch. It doesn't fit the bike in the most amazing way, in my opinion, just because I think these new clutches, they really did engineer these things just with the way that they have this nice pivot joint in here and everything. And yeah, they just did a good job with it, but other than that, it seems like it's gonna work pretty well. I'm gonna hope I can get that to work. I do actually have some white lithium grease, which I am gonna use a little bit of that just on a couple different spots. We're gonna just do very small amounts, but you'll very well notice that a lot of the parts on your new Ducati will have grease. Like you can see some here. We obviously have some just in any spots that pivot or rub, especially metal on metal. It's really important to have just a little bit of grease on that kind of stuff. Now, the one other thing I will suggest, and of course the manual does say it, is whenever you tighten stuff, especially on bikes, cars, it doesn't matter, anything that vibrates or moves, you should always use a little bit of Loctite. I think it calls for blue Loctite. I think my blue Loctite's in the other garage, so for demonstration purposes, I probably won't be putting any on, but this is a nylon lock nut too, so we have that going for us. But technically, you're really only supposed to use these once. Once they've been tightened, you take them off. You technically should get a new nylon lock nut, but for now, we're just gonna run with this, and I will put some blue Loctite on a little bit after I'm done with this video. But Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and just put, like I said, a little bit of lube in a couple spots. We don't really need to lube these bushings that go in here, but I am gonna throw just a little bit on this piece that rests in between the actual bushing, so that should be plenty right there. And then we're obviously not gonna put any on the threads of this because we don't really want to do that. On the inside here of like the spring area, and this will just help, you know, just in case there's ever like humidity out or moisture in the air, you know, you start to get, even on stainless steel parts, you know, you will start to get a little bit of rust and stuff. And for one, those will help prevent that, and for two, it'll just keep it really well lubricated just so that it moves easily. I'm not really too worried about putting any on this adjuster knob or anything, but yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that. This piece right here is basically your a neutral safety. It pushes a tiny little, I guess it'd be like a, what do you call it? Like a continuity switch where it turns on and off, so it knows when you're neutral, or sorry, when your clutch is in for safety reasons. But we're gonna go ahead and move the camera over to the Ducati now and see if we can get this on. All right, so this part should be relatively easy. So basically, we're going to, well, get the clutch lever the right way, because we need to get these bushings in, because this thing fits really nicely with the bushings that they've milled and everything. They did do definitely a good job at that, making sure it fits in these Brembo reservoirs pretty well. All right, let's try this again. So once again, go ahead and get that centered. Make sure your bottom bushing doesn't fall out while you're doing this. You'll definitely feel if you're missing a bushing or something, because it'll have a lot of play to it. All right, getting this white lithium grease kind of everywhere, so that's a good start. All right, so this part's a little bit tricky. You have to just really get this to line up well, and it's not super easy because it's very low tolerance for sure, which is a good thing. All right, so we got that lined up, and that will kind of twist fit in. So now we can go and get our tools. We can let go of everything. We don't need to hang on. The only thing we need to put on is this nut right here. But yeah, I'm very happy with just having this this space filled without that rubber gasket, which I don't think the instructions tell you to use it. It definitely looks goofy. The only downside is there's not really anything to stop it. So I guess theoretically I could always TIG weld like a small little nub on the piece of stainless steel rod to kind of make sure that the gasket doesn't come up, because I think it probably will. But let's just go ahead and get our tool and go ahead and get this thing tightened. All right, so for this step, we're just going to need a 4mm Allen head or Allen key, and then we're gonna need a 10mm socket. I'm just using like this cheap Harbor Freight short and stubby, but you're basically just going to very carefully screw this in. It shouldn't have a lot of resistance. If it does, then you're probably cross-threading it and stripping it, but it is nice. It tightens in 2 spots. So basically you get to tighten this into your actual Brembo Brembo cylinder. So get that, you know, fairly hand tight. Remember, you're not trying to make it to where it'll never come out again. And now you're gonna put that nut on the bottom, which really just makes sure that this thing's not coming out. So they definitely did a good job at having, or at least Ducati did a good job at not having multiple spots it can fly off at. You got many points to stop failure. All right, there we go. Yeah, like I said, it's a very small thread, so you don't want to get it like super tight because it will definitely strip it. And now at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and move the camera. Actually, I'm gonna take the camera off the tripod so that you guys can really see it. But as you can see, this is that gasket I've been talking about. I know it's probably kind of hard to see, but we have the gasket in there. Like I said, I think it's probably gonna, yeah, it's probably gonna kind of come out of where we want to keep it. Yeah, you see how it just literally just kind of came up and out. So it's definitely gonna need something welded onto to keep it in place. But what I was kind of getting at is I'm not like the biggest fan of how all that's really holding this in is basically just like, you know, it is nice. It can't come out any further. This part can. Obviously the lever can bend really well because it was designed for the exact Brembo master cylinder. But, you know, overall, this one does feel really good. The adjuster is definitely easy. You can adjust a little bit easier with one hand. With this one, I guess it'd be pretty hard to do this with one hand. You'd have to like come up over here, and they're not easy to turn. I almost was you have to use a tool to turn it. This one is very easy to do on the fly. That's definitely more like the KTM for sure. This one, I can just twist with my fingers. You just kind of push forwards and you can just twist it. It becomes loose. So yeah, definitely not bad. And it has a really good adjustment range. Like I said, I'm definitely liking this already. You can see our white lithium grease is definitely working its way in there. So it's gonna stay nice and lubricated. But yeah, I mean, overall, you can definitely see too, if you watch the, as soon as we slightly press it, we're getting some movement there. So yeah, that is one of the nice parts too about having it, you know, it's all sealed. So like you're not really, I mean, you could push this in with your finger if you wanted, if you had enough strength, obviously. But yeah, I think we're looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. It definitely is like ever so slightly shorter than the stock clutch. The stock clutch I think would have came out maybe another like half an inch or so, and the reason I say that is you can just kind of tell. It's definitely lined up almost with the actual handlebar on the other side. This one you can tell is a little bit shorter. Yeah, there's your ASV clutch lever. We only did the clutch lever today because, well, for one, these levers are freaking expensive. I know the bike was expensive, but hey, I just spent all the money on the bike. I don't want to buy levers too. Trust me, I didn't want to buy any levers in the first place. That was a rookie mistake, but I am happy to have this ASV one on now. Like I said, I am probably gonna, well, not probably, I'm definitely gonna modify this, because this will drive me crazy having this thing keep coming up the way it is. But once we do that, I think it's gonna be really awesome, and I'm super excited. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, check out our other 2 YouTube channels, and also our twitch.tv/toastybros, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.